An op-ed discusses how the Manosphere has infiltrated Love Island USA fandom as well as gambling and what it means for the future of the show. Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, anything I say is alleged and in my very, very personal opinion. This for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box. Some meat and potatoes, some housekeeping items. So, today we are talking Love Island USA Season 8. Oh, and I gotta say something real quick before we get into this. This is not my first YouTube channel. This is actually my second. I decided to give some more TLC to this channel and talk Love Island. But my original YouTube channel, my first channel, that is still moving and grooving, you know what I'm saying? It actually started Love Island USA Season 3. You know what I'm saying? So people throwing shade at my follower count, you know what I'm saying? It's unnecessary. It is unnecessary. Your girl's been here. I'm just trying to pivot, you know what I'm saying, to some different stuff. Now, I saw in the comments that y'all want me to talk Ultimatum, Married at First Sight, and Big Brother. So I've got a lot of stuff coming. Do not worry, and we'll get into it. Now, we got to get into an article from Marie Claire, which is a publication, you know what I'm saying, that did an article the other day that says the Manosphere is ruining Love Island USA. And it says, after years of being for the girls and the gays, toxic masculinity is taking over the hit dating show on and off screen. For the past 6 weeks, Love Island USA has been a litmus test of the American public's views on lustfulness and compatibility. This is a defining factor of dating shows. But the Peacock series' record-breaking growth since Season 6 has made its discourse inescapable. With Season 8, however, a new bombshell is changing the course of the country's biggest reality show. The Manosphere has taken over Love Island USA, and it is ruining the experience for longtime watchers who tuned in to see, well, Love Island USA, the latest escapist reality TV hit that the mainstreaming of radical conversation and conservatism has altered in recent years. In both Season 7 and 8, the younger cast members who spent their late teens living through the COVID-19 pandemic have reflected the talking points of the Manosphere, the network of internet communities centered on toxic masculinity, gender essentialism, and opposition to feminism. Men who spent their formative years online at a time when social media algorithms amplified this content have adopted its views. That women should be soft and subservient to men, that men are entitled to their romantic interest bodies, and that women who challenge men should be humbled. Hegemonic masculinity and misogyny have since become systemic bugs in American dating culture and now defining features among some of the men in Season 8's core cast, to the point where viewers wondered whether they even like their partners. Most of Season 8's men have spent their time in the villa exhibiting manipulative dating behaviors, putting minimal effort into cultivating relationships, bonding over belittling and disrespecting the female islanders, and resenting the women for harming their egos. Since the first episodes, Casey Chandler and Corbin Mims have been dubbed red pill poster boys for disparaging women who wouldn't get intimate with them. Zach Attack, who has been coupled up with Kata since episode 2, has become notorious for his criticisms of the female cast, his dismissive attitude towards Kata, and his constant backtracking after showing emotional attachment, i.e. telling her he was joking when he said, "I love you" in bed. Also, while Sincere has been shown compassion and understanding by his co-stars for exploring connections behind Melanie's back, Kenzie hasn't received nearly as much goodwill. It doesn't help that the men arguably have been positioned with challenges and recouplings in their favor. Corbin received the unilateral choice to couple up with someone ahead of the girls' choice for coupling in episode 5. He also chose whether to save Melanie or Beatrice in episode 9. In the same dumping in season 7, all of the safe islanders voted for whom to save. That was subtle red pill influence became overt in season 8's cruelest moment when the heart rate challenge was revealed to be the start of Casa Amor. With this year's Casa twist being that the women were subjected to watching a live stream of the men meeting the new bombshells with the Casa men's arrival delayed the following day. Some viewers argued the shameless behavior that they witnessed was the push the girls needed to explore. Really, though, it served as a microcosm of the season. The men got to have their cake and eat it too, while the women were emotionally tortured for the sake of their growth. The Manosphere isn't just influencing Love Island USA from within the villa, it is also infecting the fandom through a new subset of viewers, the KC Defenders. KC was an early fan favorite this year for his meme-worthy reactions and admiration of dark-skinned women. And he spent the first 3 weeks of the show, a long-term relationship in the villa, coupled up with Anaya Harvey. But once Bombshell soul Dean entered the villa, discerning fans and Anaya herself began to see hints that he was sticking with her as a safe choice rather than pursuing Soul and facing possible rejection. Casey eventually left Anaya for Tiara TT Davis, a Casa girl who unabashedly pursued him and wasn't a grandma in bed as he called Anaya. The game plan of playing it safe with someone that you're lukewarm towards until someone comes along who you're really interested in isn't new. But Casey's blatant disrespect towards Anaya for not fitting into TT's down for her man mold inspired both extreme hate from some fans and extreme love from others. While some of KC defenders point to his natural chemistry with TT, their 03 Bonnie and Clyde arc, and a celebration of black love, the vocal majority of KC love stems from a hatred of Anaya. The tall former volleyball player and daughter of a former NBA star, Anaya has faced unnecessary hate throughout season 8, from criticizing her naturally textured wigs, calling her too insecure based off of her eventually validated concerns about KC, to accusing Carl of faking his interest in her because she's a fan favorite among female viewers. Even though KC himself owned up to disrespecting and resenting Anaya during their apology in episode 26, his defenders will swear up and down that his comments were not disrespectful in context, while also calling Anaya hypocritical for speaking badly about him in response to his actions. What is more, fan interaction has expanded beyond the show's voting process. Reddit, X, and Threads to perhaps the fastest rising red pill spaces online. Prediction markets. Platforms like Kalshi and Polymarket primarily appeal to fans of male-dominated subcultures such as sports betting and crypto, and directly tie into the get-rich-quick schemes popular in the Manosphere. They are also easily manipulated, with reports of users getting rich off of insider information and rigging real-life situations to match their bets. As legalized gambling and prediction markets have surged in the past 2 years, competitive reality television has become a popular target. This year, Kalshi and Polymarket launched new Love Island markets, even promoting them through social media ads and collaborations in hopes of attracting more women to their male-dominated user bases. While the viewership numbers of the rumored influx of straight men who watch Love Island USA haven't been disclosed, fans have noticed an increase of online sports fans who call themselves KCFC, as in football club, putting money on KC and TT, making it to the finale, sharing voting campaign threads, and lamenting Kalshi's screenshots, predicting that KC and TT won't make the final four couples. It's no coincidence that the men who are crossing over from these spaces into Love Island USA are rallying behind a man whose arc is centered on misogyny, nor is it a surprise that this is turning off female viewers. The easiest way to dominate the attention from the economy is through outrage, and reality TV has this down to a science. Producers know how to contrive divisive storylines so their shows will ride the waves of online discourse to pop culture ambiguity. Though shows like Love Island USA and Love is Blind have seemingly used this strategy to become too big to fail, we also know that outrage isn't sustainable. Core fans are alienated, potential cast members get cautious, and viewers eventually succumb to either fatigue or boredom. This installment of Love Island USA has spurred a new kind of bleakness beyond the typical angst and heartbreak of dating to a fatalistic musing on whether this season's men really like the women. When the love disappears from Love Island and only misogyny remains, who will keep watching once the twists aren't hitting and money cannot be made? So that was the article. I have a few things that I want to say about this article because I can't stress enough, right? I can't stress enough that a dating show like this, whether it's Love Island, whether it's The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, or whatever the case may be, the demographic is for women. The demographic primarily is for women. It is about women finding love, women finding a connection. That has been the premise of catering to these ladies to find love, catering to the demographic that you, if you like this girl, if you like this couple, you're going to vote for them to win. Whether you're, because they didn't for some reason this season. They normally have favorite boy and favorite girl votes. So everybody knows what the situation is, but I believe production didn't do it this season because they knew that nobody liked the men. They knew all these men would be sitting here at the bottom of the polls. But my thing is this, right? And it's not just the Manosphere, it's not just the men, right? There are some women who are male identified, who are male centered, who are excusing Casey's actions and calling Anaya dumb, calling Anaya insecure, calling her all of these names. And I can't stress enough in regards to the Anaya and the KC of it all. Anaya had intuition that something was off in her couple with KC after a couple of weeks. And then you couple that with Zack Attack and Bryce, you know what I'm saying, doing a little instigating of their own. And the challenges to cast doubt on the connection of Anaya and KC. And it didn't help matters too that they were one of the top couples. And again, Zack Attack, whose brother is Charlie, who previously was on the show last season, where Ace was notorious for extensive game playing, was implementing some of those strategies this season. And unfortunately, I feel as though Casey took the bait. Casey has admitted himself that he made mistakes, that he was not as transparent, and that he held resentment towards Anaya for not picking him day one. But people leave out the fact Anaya wasn't picked day one either. Anaya wasn't picked day one either. So we never would have known if she stood behind Casey's door, if they still, you know what I'm saying, would be a thing, or he still would pull the same stuff. It's easy to use this as an excuse, Neil, but we will never know. And like I said, people do not like the fact that Anaya has come from a certain type of family. They don't like the way she talks. They don't like the way she curses. They don't like the way she looks. They don't like the way she wears her hair. They've tried to put false mean girl allegations on her when, for everything I've seen on this show, no, she's not perfect. But she's been nothing but a sweetheart. And this is the same thing that happened to other Virgo black women on this show, like Shelly last season and like Serena season 6. Both are Virgo women. And because some of y'all, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't like their demeanor or their facial expressions, or when it is time for them to stand up for themselves and defend themselves, you want to call them aggressive. You want to call them all these things. And even though, like I said, Anaya and Casey have made up, right? They've at least, quote unquote, made up, whether it's for the show or not, I don't know, right? But ultimately, Anaya's not sending any hate Casey's way, so I don't understand why the KC defenders are online still attacking Anaya. And now what you guys are doing is attacking Anaya via Carl. Now y'all are trying to make these allegations. Oh, there's no way that Carl could be this nice of a guy. He's just using Anaya to win the show and all of this and all of that. When Amora came out from Casa Amor on an interview and said that Carl was pursuing her too. He was pulling her for chats. But ultimately, he was talking about Anaya the entire time in the chat. And saying how he couldn't stay mad at her for long, how he had stronger feelings for her, and nothing ever materialized. Nothing ever materialized when Carl tried to talk to other women. So if you're stuck on Anaya, and you did try to explore, and you explored respectfully, You know what I'm saying? We didn't hear anything about Anaya trying to stop any conversations between Carl and Amora, and we only saw the one time where Anaya interrupted Casey and Saul's conversation, but that was more to do with Zack Attack kind of trying to walk back his comments in the challenge that Casey saw Anaya as a safe choice. It was less about the soul of it all, because there's been plenty of Casey and Saul conversations that Anaya was talking to Melanie or talking to somebody else and didn't interrupt them. But I feel like, unfortunately, you know what I'm saying, there are some men and some women that are latching on to a hate train to boost KC. And I'm here to tell you, a fan base is not sustainable starting off of hate. Starting off to spite Anaya because you were mad that Anaya was still on the show. You were mad that Anaya did not get eliminated. You know what I'm saying? And also, I think there's resentment because y'all know deep down that had KC approached his, return to Casa differently and still left the door open, so to speak, that maybe, because I believe in my heart of hearts, he had an intention of Anaya and KC and Tay being in some type of love triangle to compete for his affection, because he kept saying that his stocks were going to go up and he was going to have all this aura. The only way your stocks are going to go up and you're going to have all this aura is if all these women are checking for you, if all these women are pressing you. And that's not what happened when you got back to the villa. And ultimately, you did enjoy the fact that Anaya was humbled. You did enjoy the fact that Anaya was humiliated. You did enjoy the fact that Anaya had a full-on breakdown. You and TT and Corbin and them were all laughing at her. You know what I'm saying? You refused to acknowledge her and talk to her for a couple of days. Then you had a little bit of a clue when Megan Thee Stallion, you know what I'm saying, told you how you moved in Casa wasn't cool. But you got people online saying, oh, that's how men talk. You know what I'm saying? That's how we talk about women and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like we continue to lose the plot. You know what I'm saying? And it is Casey on multiple occasions who have acknowledged the disrespect, that he was in the wrong. But it was only after he saw for himself movie night how he was really moving. And even he cringed at the things that he was saying. And he even acknowledged, even on his way out of the show, that, listen, I made some mistakes. I didn't, agree with how I moved at some of these times or whatever else. But here is the outcome. Here's the outcome. Here's what happened. And y'all are still attacking Anaya. Make it make sense. Please make it make sense. So I know we are about less than a couple hours away from After Sun. And it appears that it has potential to be messy tonight. And I don't know. I don't know how some of these Islanders are going to come back from whatever they're trying to do, if they're going to come in on smoke. I understand some people do not like the core four. It's your right to support and not support whoever you want. I just disagree with the hate. I disagree with the false narratives. I disagree with the lack of accountability. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is what's lost. If you are gaining a fan base solely because you hate somebody else, that's never going to work. And what people fail to realize, the people who support Anaya, the people who support Trinity, the people who support Melanie, it had nothing to do with their couple. Even Neil, if Anaya was coupled up with KC would be in the finals right now. Had not all that foolishness took place at Casa and the disrespect and everything else that took place, if Anaya, you know what I'm saying, if they didn't bring back Carl and there was a way for Casey and Anaya to have conversations, work on things or whatever the case may be, and they got back together, Anaya fans would still vote for her and Casey to be in the final. Because that's how big her fan base was. Same thing with how the Melanie fans are voting for her and Sincere. But hopefully this is a lesson that, y'all can't be infiltrating these dating shows like this. You know what I'm saying? And it was mainly y'all feeling seen that disrespect of black women was okay. And if there was any capacity that Casey and TT won for that, all HELL would have broke loose. because now you are opening a space that it is okay to disrespect black women and then profit off of that when it comes to the show. And unfortunately, there are people who have profited off for years off of hate against black women. It's a moneymaker for people to specifically hate black women and have some of these takes. And it's already been shown and proven that Casey was a Kevin Samuels supporter. You know what I'm saying? And I talked about Kevin Samuels a lot on my other channel, on Anonymous T, on my main channel. And, you know, when he was alive and some of the things that he was saying and stuff that I vehemently disagreed with, that I vehemently, you know, felt was just not okay, was just not cool. But I hope that, you know what I'm saying, y'all took something out of this op-ed, that y'all took something out of this article. I think it's hit Yahoo and it's hit other, you know, mainstream publications about the Manosphere. And I don't believe that the voting was rigged. I don't believe that the voting was rigged at all. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, production did not want to platform really technically any of these men when it's all said and done. But they knew that at least having Kata and Melanie in the final was not going to be a threat to a Brinity or Karnaya win. But they could not take that risk with all of the gambling that was taking place for Casey and TT and all the hate and all the things that was going on with Anaya. And y'all continue to leave out the Photoshop pic of Casey being the police officer and Anaya being George Floyd. Like that's just disgusting. Disgusting, flat out behavior. It's not okay. It's not cool, y'all. And people who are still planning to send hate and threats to Anaya when she gets out of here, it's not cool. So I just want people to just be kind, realize this is a show, realize that we're only reacting to what we see on the show and how these Islanders move when the show is over. If you're moving messy and trifling when the show is over and you are going to, you know, uplift a fan base that was generated based off of hatred off of Anaya for most of the supporters. There are some supporters, like I said, that genuinely believe that KC and TT are a thing. But there is a vast majority that are still on social media with attacks against Anaya. And that's not cool. So that is it for this video, nonetheless. And I want to hear from y'all. I want y'all to do y'all biggest one, and that is to hype the video. Hype the video, please. There's that. That is it. That is all. It's totus es final. It's finito. It's the end of the road, seeing the line for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post the content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.